Have you ever wondered why e-bikes lose range or stop working after 2 years? Well, it's not a coincidence. I've worked on countless e-bike and e-scooter batteries, and they all have pretty much the same problem. So in this video, we are going to have a look at two batteries. One that I've used recently from an e-bike, and another which I took out of an e-scooter about 2 years ago. We'll start with the battery from the e-bike, which I featured in my previous video, where I increased the speed without changing the battery. But one day, when I went to turn on the power of the battery, the green LED on the speed booster didn't light up, as well as when trying to turn on the display, it also didn't work. So let's take out the battery and have a look at the voltage. There seems to be about 0 volts coming out of the battery. So I thought maybe we should connect the charger and see if it'll change anything. But after waiting for around 30 minutes, the green light from the charger lit up, but as soon as we read the voltage, we are greeted with the same 0 volts as before. Well, time to open up the battery. The first thing that I can immediately see is the fuse. So let's test the continuity and see if it is still in good condition. That doesn't seem like the case, so let me bring out a new fuse and install that instead of this one. And just like that, we're getting about 40 volts at the output, so let's close it up. Before installing it onto the e-bike, I'm going to connect the electronic load to see if it can handle some current. At 1.2 amps, it seems to stay at about 40 volts, which some bad e-bike batteries would drop to 0 volts. So it's time to install it. This time, if we power up the e-bike battery, we can see how the green LED light from the booster is lighting up. And if we head over to the display and hit the power button, it powers up just fine, and when I give it some throttle, it is eager to accelerate. So I'll fill up the tires with air and test it out. Since this thing has a boost converter on it, which increases the voltage to 67 volts from 42 volts, when pushing the throttle with no load, it keeps accelerating and seems to keep going and settles at an impressive 40 miles per hour. If we put a little load by doing a burnout, it can handle that just fine. But what about actually riding it? Let's do this. If you haven't already, then make sure to hit that subscribe button. As we can clearly see, the e-bike accelerates quite well. We can also see how it is able to hit its top speed of 30 miles per hour. On to the next battery. As I've mentioned before, I salvaged this battery from an e-bike around 2 years ago. And the reason why this e-bike was damaged was because this battery pack does not accept a charge. What do you mean by that, you may ask? Well, here is a standard 42 volt charger for 36 volt e-bike batteries. And if we hook this up to the battery, we can clearly see that the green LED stays lit. But if we measure the voltage coming out of the battery, it is only at about 15 volts. Now the problem is not with the charger, since it gives out 42 volts. The reason why I thought this would happen was that there might be a few damaged cells, which can cause the voltage to drop like this. So time to do some surgery on this thing. As I'm measuring the battery, it looks like none of the cells are damaged since they're all at about 4 volts, which is almost fully charged. So what I did next was have a closer look at the BMS, which is the battery management system. As we can see, there are no obvious signs of failure or any other components not looking as it should, which got me thinking, maybe this is planned obsolescence. In fact, when I was working on a Makita battery to upgrade the 5-year-old cells, the BMS was refusing to put out voltage and was just shooting an error message no matter how long I charged it for. This means that if you would run to replace the batteries in your Ryobi battery pack, you would end up having to buy a third-party BMS replacement, which is what I was forced to do. Anyways, I purchased a cheap BMS replacement that has all the safety features that it needs, but most importantly, it doesn't get triggered when removing one of the cells while repairing it. This is a 10-cell, 30-amp BMS, which I'll link in the description. Each 18650 battery can handle around 10 amps continuously, and this battery pack has 3 cells in parallel, giving us a total of 30 amps continuous current flow. It also comes with a wire harness, which will make sure that all the cells stay at about the same voltage, which prevents damage and limits early cell degradation. I might mount the BMS on top, but we'll see later once the old BMS is removed. I'll add some solder to the nickel strips leading to each cell. The BMS comes with a larger connector for the wire harness. I think the other side of the battery is the safer place to put the BMS since we don't have exposure to the battery connections. If we measure the voltage from the last cell of the battery pack and from the negative output of the BMS, we can see a voltage of 39 volts, which is what we can expect from each cell being charged to around 3.9 volts. But as of right now, the current is limited to the thin wires from the harness. So what we're going to do now is solder a thick 14-gauge copper wire from the negative side of the battery pack onto the B negative pad from the BMS. We should also hook up the positive side of the battery pack to the XD60 connector, which we can salvage from the older BMS. I'll tidy up the wires with some scotch tape and a zip tie. It's also a good idea to install one of these DC input ports for charging the battery. I'll have to melt the heat shrink tubing to connect the DC port to the red wire. And the black wire from the input port will be connected to the C- pad, which is basically the charger input. The first test I'll do is monitor the voltage from the XD60 connector output and heat up the temperature sensor from the BMS to replicate a battery overheating scenario, which can cause the battery to explode if it's either on a hot day or the battery is under too much load for a long period of time. And as we can see, only a few seconds of close contact with the soldering iron, the voltage dropped to 0 volts. Perfect! Another safety feature that is very important from a BMS is overcharging. So in this test, I'll set my variable power supply to 5 volts in series with the 42 volt charger. This is to try to overcharge the battery while monitoring one of the cells and seeing if it'll shut at the right voltage. And after around 20 to 30 minutes, we can see how, as soon as the cell reaches 4.2 volts, the BMS cuts charging power to prevent the batteries from getting damaged. A lot of cheap Chinese batteries come with a flaw in their design, which is not having a proper BMS, which has the balancing feature built in. which over time, as one battery gets fully charged faster than the rest, the battery pack might seem to lose capacity, while there's still plenty of life left in it. So to test if this feature works, I'll overcharge one of the cells close to 4.4 volts, and then come back in a few hours and see if anything changes. It's been a few hours, and as we can see, while the rest of the cells are still reading around 4.1 volts, the cell that was overcharged is sitting at 4.2 volts, which shows that the BMS is doing what it should. The next test is overcurrent protection. This is a very important feature if wires get frayed on an e-bike, or if the motor controller gets wet, which can cause a short circuit in the system, causing hundreds of amps to flow from the battery, which can cause a fire. I'll simply short out the negative and positive output wires from the alligator clip and see what happens. At first I was a little bit scared, but then I realized that if the protection doesn't work in the worst case, the alligator wires will blow up and that'll be all. If you haven't already, then make sure to hit that subscribe button. And as expected, the wire didn't blow up. The voltage dropped to 0 volts, which means that the current protection is working. Now the final test is more to protect the batteries from getting destroyed from over discharge, which I'll do by connecting an electronic load and pulling a fixed amount of current until the battery dies. Turns out that the battery wasn't the first thing to die. I had this happen before when pushing way too much power through the electronic load than it can handle, which forced me to buy replacement MOSFETs. But as it turns out, the ones from Amazon apparently can't handle as much current as the datasheet says, which means that they are fake. I guess I should have had patience and ordered it from a more reputable site like LCSC or DigiKey. Thankfully, the MOSFETs were very cheap from Amazon, so I bought 5 in total, which means I had plenty of replacements. This time, I won't pull as much power as before, and when rewatching the video, it looks like it busted at 140 watts, so I'll stay under that amount. As soon as the battery drops to 30 volts, the BMS cuts power. And we can also see how the battery has a capacity of 7.3 amp hours, which is actually pretty good against the rated 7.8 amp hours, giving us a 6.5% drop in capacity. And considering the fact that I salvaged this battery, who knows, it might even be an additional 5 years old. If you like this video, then consider supporting me through Patreon so I can keep creating more and better videos. And I will see you guys in the next video.